So thank you so much.
Give you this way whether you want it or not.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you.
You're gonna give me a kiss,
Oh, thank
'cause that's what you do.
Thank you.
And you say, oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Kent.
There you go, Karen.
Okay. Well, gee, I'm so very touched by that presentation and to be with you all today. You know you all touch my heart very much by what you do every day in your affiliates, helping get through this, the lives that you touch. Because when I look out at all of you, I see hundreds upon hundreds of people, families that have been helped, lives that have been changed, congregations that have been renewed, volunteers that have found purpose, and that's what touches my heart. Because long before I gave that sandwich to Millie or developed this program, you see, I always wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I wasn't sure how to do that. And the origins of that were growing up in a community that's not a really warm and welcoming community. And even my church didn't reach out. But I had this desire to make a difference, and it certainly has been fulfilled. A long time in coming, and a path that took a while with some roadblocks in the way. But as I look at Family Promise today, I look at it as a program. I look at us as a social service provider, and our outcomes are incredible. They would rival any social service providers in terms of placing families in housing, finding jobs, and keeping them in housing. I look at Family Promise through that lens, but I look at Family Promise through another lens, and that lens that I look at is through thousands of acts of compassion each day that changes lives. That's the magic of Family Promise, and that's what you do, whether you're a director, a case manager, a board member, or coordinator. That's what makes us unique. That's the fabric of who we are. It's a compassion that heals. That's what we heard from our guest advisory committee on Friday night. What is that about? When we set up on Sunday with the beds for our week to host, I sometimes get a vision that the stage is set, God's stage is set for us just to love one another. And that's what I yearned for my whole life. I wanted to be a nurse. That's what women did my age when we wanted to help. I didn't become a nurse. But I believe the cause found me. I could have taken many different paths. But when I gave that sandwich to Millie, maybe there was something, somewhere within me that I saw in her. Because if we're all honest, we all have a little brokenness in all of us. And God has used my brokenness, my heart, to help create this. And that's what you said, but I didn't create this. You say, I planted some seeds. You grew the forest. You grew the beautiful forest. You are changing lives every day. And that's what so fills my heart with joy beyond belief. That's what I want you to know, beyond belief. And my vision along the way was simple. You see, I didn't dream all this. I dreamt of a building. I gathered 200 people for an all-day conference on family homelessness and invited the religious community, all faith, because I do believe there are many paths to God. But my vision after that meeting was simply a building. The armory couldn't provide shelter, the schoolhouse couldn't provide shelter, nobody wanted a stationary shelter. in their backyard. So you know how God uses obstacles to bring something forward. And it was God's plan that He did not want us to have a building with a staff and a handful of volunteers. He wanted His houses of worship, 6,000 now, involved in changing lives. Communities of compassion. I know many of your hearts. I know some of your stories. And we get here in different places. Some of you grew up with a lifetime of service. You emulated others. Some of you came from brokenness to strength. Some of you are marketers. Some of you are bankers. Some of you have a nonprofit background. You know what? It doesn't matter so much what your professional background is. I can say something about what I know about many of you in this room, and those of you that I don't know. It's your caring heart that changes lives. And that's how we make all the difference. So God wanted to engage communities, not find a building like I thought we needed. And when communities engage, lives are changed, programs are developed. Look at all the programs you developed. That wasn't part of my plan. Those were not the seeds I planted. Nutrition and housing and parenting and mentoring and graduate support. I mean, it's mind-boggling. I'm in awe of what all you have done. I can't take it in. When I go to affiliates, they say, look at what you started. How do you feel about that? The truth is, I can't get my mind and my heart around it. I can't take it all in because of who you are and what you bring. And that's the power of who we are. That's the power of Family Promise. Family Promise is very much a family. And so when I look through Family Promise through a different lens, I see how lives are changed. I see it in every affiliate. You see it. I don't have to tell you. You see it in yours. They saw it on a recent trip to Montana. For instance, I met DeAndre at the wonderful new opening of the Billings Day Center. He talked about finding housing. He talked about getting a job. But he talked about something else. He talked about regaining his confidence. Because so many people believed in me, I believed in myself. And encouraged him to go back to college, a dream. He was there for shelter and meals and a roof over his head for himself and his family, but something else happened. Magic happened, as Cat Louie says. He gained his confidence. He felt proud of himself, and he went back to college. How do you put a value on that? There's no system, there's no tracking system to count that. That's how Family Promise changes lives. Or the Bixby family. When I went to Helena, Holly Bixby talked about a whole new beginning for her kids. You see, they lived on a reservation and it wasn't safe, and the kids had to travel 90 miles a day just to get to the school, a good and decent school. They came in Family Promise and they found housing. They talked about finding family, and they moved off of the reservation to a 5-bedroom house. She says, my kids, my 6 kids, they all have new futures because of Family Promise. That's the power, that's the compassion of Family Promise. Or Jason, who I met in Bozeman. He's been out of the program for a while. He said, when I came into the program, it shifted my values. You see, all these people were caring about my family, and right away, I wanted to give back. And so when I left the program, that's exactly what we did. He became a board member. He volunteers regularly. We heard this so profoundly, how Family Promise changes lives from our guest advisory council members. I don't know, I didn't hear too much about the shelter and the meals. I heard they found housing and jobs, but I heard about how their lives were changed through Family Promise. Pat Lilly told me, you see, when I came into the program, I was broken. I didn't believe in myself. But complete strangers love me. Complete strangers love me. If I'm lovable to complete strangers, I'm lovable to myself. That, she said, changed her life. And you know, now that she's on staff with an affiliate and she's passing it on to other guests who come into the program. But you know, guest lives are not the only lives that are touched. A while back, I think it was a couple years ago, it was the 10th anniversary for the Knoxville affiliate. It was after I spoke, and you know, sometimes guests will come up to me and say, family trauma saved my life. But in this case, a woman came up to me with tears in her eyes, and she gave me a big hug, and she said, family promise saved my life. She said, I'm a volunteer with Westminster Presbyterian. I thought, what? I was trying to get it all together. She said, you see, my husband was very sick for 5 years with pulmonary fibrosis. And so we attended television church. But at the point he was about to pass, I called my daughter's rector, and he came right away. He came right away, and I was so taken by that I joined that church. And soon Family Promise came along to that church. I was grieving. We were married for 40 years. He was the love of my life. I was grieving. I thought I had nothing to give back until I got involved in Family Promise. First with meals, and then overnights, and then tutoring children. Family Promise changed my life. Our work is not just about helping families. It's about changing lives, volunteers' lives, congregations' lives, and oftentimes our own life. I know Family Promise has changed my life. For whatever reason, like you, I was wired to serve. So this has given me great joy. That's why in retirement, they say, what are you going to do? Are you going to spend time in Florida? You're going to golf or tennis? Oh, God, no. No, I mean, it's just, I'm wired to serve, so I will still serve. I love visiting affiliates. I love volunteering. Yes, I will paint. Yes, I have 5 grandchildren. But the fact that I've been able to make a difference means a lot to me. It's not so much about me. I don't know. I came in with this wiring, okay? I came in with this wiring, like all of you, and gee, it has to be expressed. I think you know what I'm talking about. And then there's Pace in Albuquerque, a volunteer, and he said, you know, I'm a physicist. And we physicists can pretty much easily live up in our heart. But Family Promise gave me an expansive heart. He volunteered, and then he stepped up as coordinator. So many lives touched. I can't get my mind and my heart around it, truthfully. But the good news is, I know so many more lives will be touched because of who you are, because of Family Promise, and because of Klaus Ehlers. In closing, I'd like to tell you a little story about Klaus, since he told some stories about me. By the way, there was a video of me water skiing. I was petrified that was going to go on the screen. Truthfully, that was last year. I am going to Florida, actually tomorrow, to meet my grandchildren, and we are going to go water skiing. So, yeah. The story I want to tell you about Klaus is a story about Klaus and the spider. I don't know how many of you know Malcolm or have read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. But Malcolm Gladwell says, sometimes you just need a sliver of somebody's personality, just something very small to get a glimpse into their soul. That's what happened with me about 8 years ago. Staff was going out on an outing to Round Valley, and it's a big lake, and so we rented a boat, and 8 of us got on the boat, and we drove it out, and we parked near the shore, about 50 yards out the shore, and Wendy was there, my assistant, and other staff members, and of course Klaus, so we dove in, and we were swimming and so on. And Wendy dove in, and she went to the shore, and there's this, all this beautiful driftwood that she loved, so she would bring it all back to the boat. And we had a great time, but then it was time to leave. So we started the engines to leave, and Wendy said, there's a piece of driftwood that I couldn't get back on the shore. I'd love to really get that. So Klaus dove in. He swam to the shore, picked up the driftwood in one hand, and paddled with the other back to the boat. He's about halfway there, and he turns around, and he starts swimming back to shore. And the driftwood held now very, 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 very high. And we're saying, Klaus, where are you going? We have to go. And he just turned around in only a Klaus way and said, there's a spider on this piece of wood. No, not only that, and it's pregnant. Who in the heck knows the spider? Nobody but Klaus. So we all wait until Klaus swims very, very, very carefully back to the shore to put that little spider back on the shore so that little spider can have its babies. True story, true story. And then he gets the driftwood and, of course, brings it all the way back to Wendy. That is the kind of amazing, wonderful, kind-hearted, brilliant person you have as your president. He's an amazing man, and I think the world of him. We all love him. Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, everybody.